All right, I think I am live. I'm going to do my own testing on my own end real quick here just to verify this. So, better turn down the volume so you don't get any feedback. All right, I think I am live. I'm going to do my own testing on my own end. Okay, I am live, but it's got like a, dang, that's like a 30-second latency, so hopefully that'll clear up. So I don't know who's all going to begin. I'm going to go ahead and start this right away because the stream will be available later. So in case anybody else wants to review or see what we did, we'll go ahead and get started. So yeah, this is odd. This is new for me. So my name is David Hundley. I am a senior machine learning engineer at State Farm. I've been in this machine learning engineer role for about 20 months now, so a little while. So just a little bit of interesting history about me. So even though I have been with State Farm for about 10 years now, and I've been in this role for about 2 years now, every role prior to that has been a role that was a business role. So this is actually my first ever technical role. And so the reason I bring that, so my undergrad is in business administration, my master's degree is in organizational leadership. The reason I bring that up is because as daunting as a space as this can seem, is that it's possible for you. I just want to offer some encouragement that it's possible for you to go ahead, follow the same path that I did or a similar path that I did in order to break into this space. So it's totally possible. So apologies again. I'm a little bit nervous. This is the very first time I've done anything like this. So a little bit of, in case you're wondering, why am I doing this? I've been doing blogging now for about 5 years, and I really love that medium. I really like doing one-on-one mentoring, so I'm a Lambda School mentor, and I do other mentoring within my company as well as outside the company, but I wanted to be able to do something a little bit different. The one-on-one stuff is great, but it doesn't, I want to be able to help on a larger capacity than that. So one-on-one's not super conducive to that. And then the blogging it's also good, but it takes a lot of work to put in something. So create a post and stuff. And you'll notice that this summer I've been kind of quiet as far as blogging goes, and that's just because every summer for some reason I just lose the urge and mojo to blog. But I get it back. It's really unexplainable. It's not like I'm super busy with summer activities or anything. Oh, by the way, snack tonight, coffee nut M&Ms. These are the best. And I had not seen these for 2 months. So I was pretty excited when I saw these today. And gotta have my Mountain Dew, of course. Lost my train of thought, totally. I think I was talking about, just trying to do something new in the form of this. So I don't know if I'm going to even do this moving forward. I don't know if it's going to be a different platform. What I would really like to see is some sort of interactive platform. So if you're familiar with the old Periscope platform, they used to have a feature where somebody could stream like this, and then you could basically enter this chat room thing. Well, I know you have the YouTube chat room, but you could also invite a single person to dial in with audio with questions. So that would be really cool. I don't know that opening it up to a huge forum where anybody can ask questions whenever they want would be super great. I don't know. But we'll see how things go. Maybe this will be the first time I do this and then the only time. So I personally like to try to start things super, super small. So the only thing I did here was I used my free Gmail account with YouTube to get this streaming going. And just this free studio, what is this called? The screen capture software. So let me show it to you real quick. So I already have the self video going, but if I click here, then you should be able to see my desktop, which will be helpful as we continue along here. So yeah, that is just a little bit about me. Okay, so let's I entitled this one called Data Science Tools. So this one may or may not have like any coding portion to it, but I thought it'd be good to kind of level set, like, what are the tools that I personally work with, both like from a hardware perspective. We'll cover hardware really quick. We won't touch on that one too much, but then also from a software perspective, like what sorts of data science tools am I using? Oh, that is the one thing I did want to bring up. So I mentioned that I am a machine learning engineer, and so you might be wondering, within the data science space, there is all these different roles. You got the data scientist, data engineer, machine learning engineer. So like, what's the different? How do I define my role necessarily? When it comes to the machine learning engineer role in particular, I know this one can be the most nebulous in the sense that, like, when I go and look at or when I've gone with my Lambda School mentees and looked at like job postings, these particular positions almost look as if they're like actual data scientist roles. That is not the case for me necessarily, and a lot of bigger companies. A lot of bigger companies will define like the machine learning engineer role as the folks that are taking these models that are created by a formal data scientist role and then packaging up and then putting them out in production appropriately. So in that sense, I'm far closer to like a software engineer than I am like a data scientist. But I'm trying to keep my skills honed with that. So a lot of my posts you'll notice are like more machine learning engineer oriented, but I do want to keep my skills honed for the data science space in particular. I'm so happy I found these. Okay. Yeah, so you might notice if I do continue along this series that my data science skills may be a little bit lacking, and that's another thing is like if we can really get this to an interactive thing, then maybe I can learn from you too, and I would love to learn. So, all right. So as far as tools that I use go, from a hardware perspective, I recently switched from a MacBook Pro early 2019 model to an M1 Mac Mini. So quite the shift. In case you were not familiar with what the Mac Mini is, the Mac Mini is just like, it is a desktop computer. It is not a laptop computer, so I did get rid of my laptop. And the reason for this is because I actually like to do pretty much all my coding and stuff on my iPad here. And you may have seen other like posts that I've written about this. So this is a 12.9-inch iPad with the I think they call this the Magic Keyboard case, where it does have like the what do you call that? The trackpad and everything. I love this device for everything. Obviously, this is a great device for watching movies, playing games, or anything. But it's also a great device if you know how to use it for data science and coding and things like that. So with that said, because I was using my iPad for everything, I wasn't really using my MacBook for that much. Moreover, I don't know if you can't see it in this video, but I was using a Raspberry Pi to augment my data science stuff by like connecting it here and then doing like some of the computation and stuff off my Raspberry Pi. The problem with the Raspberry Pi though is that it has an ARM, like a special custom ARM processor in it. And basically what that means is like it's got a lot of wonky stuff when it comes to like trying to run some of the software that I typically use on a regular workstation. So for example, I had a huge issue with Docker. I don't know why, I just didn't want to run Docker that well. So I was thinking, okay, so I got this MacBook I no longer use, but I really want like this little tiny, I want a server basically that I can SSH into for my iPad here like I was before with my Raspberry Pi, and that way I can continue doing my work. So the best of both worlds is the Mac Mini. And the Mac Mini, so this is the M1 Mac Mini, the M1 meaning that Apple's taken their first foray into creating their own silicon. Honestly, that part really doesn't matter so much, although there is one really cool thing about that I'll show you all in a second. But anyway, so yeah, I am using the M1 Mac Mini, but I do most of my coding and stuff on my iPad directly. So I have a couple apps, and okay, well, I'll go ahead and say it. So when it comes to, obviously I can't show you the apps that I use on the iPad because I'm streaming from my Mac here, but the M1 Macs can apparently run iPad apps natively, which is pretty cool. That means with our streaming here, I can actually show you a couple of the apps that I use for my iPad. So, I need to take a breath there. So, By the way, I do have the chat open up on my other screen. I purposefully have hidden how many people are viewing this stream right now, so I have no idea if there's 0 or 5 of you. I'm expecting we'll get no more than 3 or 4. I'm tempering my expectations. And we'll probably go no longer than an hour, or whenever I get tired of talking, one of the two. But if you do have any questions, of course, feel free to drop them in the chat, and I will be very happy to answer them. From what I noticed in my own personal tests, it appears that there is about anywhere between a 5 to 30-second lag, so I apologize if that lag kind of messes some things up. Okay, so that is hardware. All right, so I mentioned the Mac Mini, I mentioned the iPad. The only thing I want to bring up with that is if like you're a learner and you're wondering, do I need to get a Mac or something for my own data science studies? And the answer is no. Like the only thing you really need is like a good, decent computer, and I mean computer because so again, love this iPad. This has iPad OS on it. This is not a legit operating system, or at least not for development, not yet. Which is, don't even get me on that. Yeah, this has an M1 chip in it too. Why can't we do that, Apple? But anyway, so if you're just wanting to do some basic like learning and stuff, you do need a laptop. I would not recommend like you going out and getting an iPad unless you want to do the whole SSH setup thing, and that's a little advanced. So I would just encourage you you could probably get by with a Chromebook or a Windows laptop. I will say, just because Mac OS is built on top of Linux and we do a lot of Linux environment kind of things, using a Mac makes things a lot easier. But I understand, they're expensive computers, and I don't want cost to be a barrier for your learning. So yeah. What else? All right, so that is hardware. So let's go ahead and jump into software, and this is where I'm going to start doing some of the screen sharing. All right, so I hope you can see this screen okay. So I am running just the typical Mac OS here. This is actually the Mac OS, Monterey preview, public beta preview. So that's why I got this pretty background here. Honestly, I don't see anything particularly special about Monterey. The coolest thing is probably this wallpaper, honestly. All right, so what do I use? So let's talk about like what I use on the iPad. So I can't show you all the iPad apps that I use, but like I said, with this M1 Mac Mini, I can show you at least one of them. So it's kind of cool. It almost looks like, so this is these are actual iPad apps, even though it looks like I'm on a Mac right now. So you'll see what this looks like. But one of the big ones that I've used and I think is amazing is what they call Juno Connect here. So Juno Connect, this is basically a Jupyter Notebook kind of server thing. So this is, obviously we're looking at it on the Mac, but this is what you would basically see on the iPad as well. And so I am with some like server setting stuff that I've already connected here. So like my personal Jupyter server right now is running on my Mac Mini, which is why I'm doing the localhost 8888. But with this app, you can basically connect to any of these servers, and I haven't tried this experimental SageMaker one yet. That's new, so we'll see more about that. But yeah, it's basically enabling you to have this really nice user interface for a Jupyter Notebook on an iPad, except your server is running off somewhere else. And so there actually is, there's actually two flavors of Juno for the iPad. There's Juno and Juno Connect. Juno actually is like a full-fledged like standalone server kind of thing that you can run directly on the iPad. It's nice, but the problem with it is that it's severely limited by what you can and can't do as far as like the iPad goes. So like you can only use pure Python libraries, and if you have like a C-based library or anything that has like any special downloads or anything, can't use those libraries. So for example, NLTK can't use in Juno, like standard Juno. But Juno Connect, because the server is technically running elsewhere, that doesn't necessarily matter so much. So that's why I like using it here, because I have my typical Mac Mini running the stuff that I need for my Jupyter notebooks on there, and then I'm just connecting for my iPad, and then just like doing my work from the user interface there. So these are a couple different repos that I have. So if I just want to, I think I have a couple running already. So yeah, if I want to open this up, so this is what it looks like on the iPad. So obviously ignore that we got all this extra the wallpaper stuff for my Mac here, but this is what it looks like. This is dark mode. There's a light mode as well. I am a big fan of this app. So like again, the actual Jupyter server is running on my Mac Mini, whereas this is what I would see. This user interface right here is what I would see on my iPad. So this is really nice, and I was testing around with this API here. It's not really an API, it's like a screen scraper thing from Rotten Tomatoes, and I'll talk about my personal projects and maybe something that I might try with this kind of format here. So yeah, this is Juno Connect though. Obviously I'm not doing anything fancy here, but if I were to do anything like PyPlot or Seaborn visualizations, they show up beautifully in here. Big fan of this app. So this is probably one of the biggest iPad apps I use. What else do I use? Let me go back into my Launchpad here. Okay, so this is Blink. I don't know if I'm going to be able to show you this one really, or if it's even going to load. But this is an SSH client that I run on the iPad. And so I'm not going to actually be able to show you this, unfortunately, just because I don't want to go typing my IP address in here, and I don't want you all seeing that. But if I did, and I already had this set up, then you could actually set it up to where like you could just do an SSH Mac Mini, and that it would know that that is like an alias or shortcut to the actual like IP address. And then from there, you're basically running your terminal, the exact same terminal that you see on your like MacBook or whatever on the iPad. And so you basically have a full-fledged terminal right there on the iPad. And so I use Blink a lot. Super nice. And then the one app that I'm not going to be able to show you that I do use all the time on my iPad is an app called, what is it called? Textastic. And let me see if I can just find, let me pull this up. So the reason I can't show you this is because apparently if an iPad app has a correlative Mac app, then it defaults to that and won't let you download the iPad version. And I don't actually, which is weird because I don't own the Mac version, and I don't have a real interest in the Mac version just because the Mac version doesn't seem to be that good. But the actual iPad version is super nice. So like it does all the syntax highlighting and stuff. You can also do an SSH in from this app into like a different server elsewhere and copy files over that way. So like when I was using my Raspberry Pi still, I could still like copy over. So I would write my code on the iPad, copy the code over to the Raspberry Pi, and then run the code on the Raspberry Pi to make sure it worked all right. And I guess I'm doing the same thing with the Mac Mini. I don't know why I'm saying the Raspberry Pi necessarily, but yeah. Big fan of Textastic, big fan of Juno Connect, big fan of Blink. Trying to think if I use anything else on the iPad. Well, I got my iPad right here. We could just look. I think those are the couple of primary ones. So Pythonista, in case you're wondering, not good. Don't use it. I don't know why people like that one. That's really it, though, on my iPad here, I think. Oh, I forgot. I am also using this other app called Working Copy. And Working Copy is basically like a Git client for iPad. So you can actually, within the Files app on the iPad, you can create your own directory and have it upload to GitHub through this Working Copy app. Working Copy the icon looks like a thumbprint in case you want to look it up later. So those are my iPad apps. And like I said, I do most of my coding on the iPad anymore, but in case you were curious, like what do I use on my Mac, I'm glad to show you that as well. So let me see if I can get out of here. All right, see you, Blink. See you, Juno Connect. All right, so obviously, this is, if I'm doing any like Jupyter work, I am honestly just using the standard web interface. So I know if in order to enable that, you might have to do the Jupyter like notebook command within a terminal. I actually have it set up on my Mac Mini that it starts up automatically in the background. And then again, that's because I'm using it mostly as a server, and in case the power goes off or anything, and everything will come back to life just fine, hopefully. But yeah, so I don't actually have to run that command each time I run up it or start up my Mac here, because I do that with Automator, I think. Actually, let me check that out, because I've actually never used Automator. So most of the stuff that I find out online is, just from Googling stuff. And so, yeah, so okay, so maybe this is what it's going to look like. So it's pretty simple. I'm just seeding or changing directory into where I want to start up at. So this is where my repos are at. doing this little kill this PGID or BGPID file, and then starting up the Jupyter notebook then. So this runs on startup. Very simple little script. If you want that, feel free to reach out to me and I'll get it to you somehow. Or just Google it, because I clearly found it from someplace else. But anyway, so if I like am just starting up and I want to get into the Jupyter interface, all I got to do is open Safari, which I have open here, and then I could just go to localhost 8888, and then there we go. These are my repos, and then I could just navigate down and like I said, I got a couple running in here. And yeah, so again, this is noting that Juno Connect from the iPad is just a client reaching into a server somewhere else running. Like this is the same, like the output that we're looking at here was actually run through Juno Connect. So just showing you here, like it really is the same kind of deal. Okay, so nothing really fancy about this interface. I actually prefer the Jupyter Notebook interface over the Jupyter Lab interface. I think that the Jupyter Lab interface is just too cluttered for one screen. And maybe that's just my personal opinion. I'm sure most people disagree with me on that one. All right, so Jupyter, pretty standard. As far as IDE goes, I used to use Atom a lot, but I personally have now switched over to using Intellij. So Intellij has a Pro Edition and a Community Edition. Honestly, at least on my personal machine, I get by just fine with the Community Edition, and it's nice. You can add different plugins. There's a nice little full plugin store and everything. The only plugin, so if you do Intellij, the only plugin that I recommend immediately is the OneDark plugin, and I think it's called OneDark. So if you go to your preferences and you look in plugins, the OneDark theme, just because it makes it look nicer. Like the default Intellij interface is like this weird, like puke brown. I don't even know how to describe it. Not a fan. But this is the OneDark theme here is the theme that I really liked from. It basically makes this look like what the default for Atom is. So it has really nice syntax highlighting. One of my other favorite things here is down on the bottom. You'll see that there is a full terminal, so I can actually run full terminal commands from in here. And I also can, if I have Git set up properly, which I don't think I have Git set up properly, just because. So I've only had the Mac Mini for like 2 weeks, so I don't have everything set up quite yet. Within this user interface here, if I wanted to commit these changes, commit or updates, I'll just call this updates to notebooks. Maybe I did set this up. We'll see. It'll probably scream at me here in a second. So that you, yeah. Well, do I remember it? Let's try again. Okay. Well, maybe it did work. Well, we could find out real quick. So if I go over into GitHub, then I should be okay. So one contribution today, which was my thing here. Okay, so apparently I do have it set up. So yeah, I really like Intellij for these nice little convenience features. There are also some other features that are nice for setting up testing and debugging and breaking and whatnot. But you know, it's a really nice IDE, and it's free. Community Edition is free. I actually honestly have not used VS Code. I know a lot of people have a lot of good things to say about VS Code, and I certainly am not gonna belittle that at all. So, an IDE, it is an IDE at the end of the day. Like, I was using Atom forever, and I wasn't even using like that much within Atom, some pretty basic stuff. So again, whatever you want to use, lots of great free ones. Intellij here is great. Like I said, Atom's great. I've heard VS Code is great. Notepad++, I think it works fine. I just think it's the ugliest of them all, honestly. And I'm an aesthetics guy. Yeah. So those are the primary tools that I work with. I'm trying to think of what else. So I do obviously work with Docker and Docker containers a lot. So I do have Docker installed on here. And I did not know this before, but apparently Docker now has like a Kubernetes thing that you can actually like it basically kind of starts up its own Kubernetes cluster. I don't remember that from before, but and I also haven't tried this in a while. But it'd be nice to get if that works for experimental purposes because I have been using Minikube and what's the other one? I don't remember the other one, but they're not they're I don't want to say they're bad, but they're a little bit cumbersome to get working. So yeah, so obviously I'm pushing my code up into GitHub. If I actually don't, I try to avoid using AWS just for my personal stuff, just because I don't need to like persist anything out there. Like it's not like I have to have a server out there running or an API out there running that people need to be hitting all the time. So I do most of my work on a local like a local machine, whether it be my iPad or my Mac here. And then, but every once in a while I do go into AWS for like specific purposes of actually trying to learn a new service. So mostly within SageMaker, for example, SageMaker notebooks. And then like, so I've been working on this series that I know I've been pretty bad about posting in a while, but like the Terraform SageMaker series where I will create, here we can even show DK Hunley. So I am creating different stuff for like how to support this. And then another thing, honestly, I've just been mulling around is like, do I want to create something like a Udemy course all about like everything to do with SageMaker? So that would be a huge commitment, though. So and I'm trying new things out. This whole live streaming thing is obviously an experiment. It's a pretty easy one though. Like if this fails, if this bombs out, the only thing that I lost was a little bit of time, but no money lost or anything. So yeah, those are the primary tools that terminal, duh. So most, Apple has the standard terminal. I do not use the standard terminal. I actually prefer iTerm 2. iTerm 2 has like customizability functions and whatnot. And so behind the scenes, I am running what they call OMyZSH and the plugins associated with that. So it makes everything look all nice. So if I show you here that like, let me drill down on one of my Git repos. CD DS quick tips. Okay, so you can see very lightly here that I'm on the master branch, and then it shows like the current working directory that I'm working in. And I haven't enabled more on this because it'll usually say even more like cool information. And then I don't know if you caught in there, but I do have autofill on here, so you can see that I already did. It remembered that I did the CDDS quick tips from above. So if I just not tab over, but press the right key over, then it automatically does that. I'm already in here, obviously. Clear. And yeah, there's nothing super fancy about iTerm 2 or like the plugins, but like it just helps to. So I do a lot of work in the command line. I probably, how much work do I do in the command line? I don't know, maybe as high as 50%. So like just some of these quality of life kind of things of just being able to do like auto tab to complete and things like that, like really helps to speed up the process of things, even though they're not big deals. All right, so I am. I don't know if you've all figured this out yet, but I did not pre-plan this. I had a general idea of I knew what I wanted to show, but I just want to make sure that I hit on everything appropriately. So I am using, at least on my personal machine here, Anaconda for virtual environments and things like that. I don't see that put in any other development tools. Sometimes I'll use Postman for API stuff, like API testing. I have not installed that on here. What else? Okay, that's just all the standard Apple stuff. I covered Docker, covered that. So one thing I can't really cover here so much, but because I haven't set it up yet, is I do use Git Lab for like testing out like continuous integration, continuous delivery pipelines. I do have a a personal Git Lab Community Edition server on my Raspberry Pi. I just haven't emulated that here on my Mac Mini yet. GitLab, if you're not familiar with it, is kind of like GitHub in the sense that like GitHub does have the code integration and the code storage kind of piece, but GitLab takes it a step further with like some super nice CI/CD functionality. So being able to deploy out your code and stuff. So, all right, looks like we do have a question in here from Maggie H. I wonder who this is. So, in case you're wondering, this Maggie H is my wife. How do you learn to code? Well then, so in case you're wondering what my personal path was, like I said, my formal education as far as bachelor and master's is in business. I did most of my learning in the form of I'll go ahead and switch this to this video, in the form of Udacity nano degrees, and then like Udemy courses, things like that. So alternative learning stuff. So I'm actually kind of like down on what do you call it, education as we know it today, just because it served its purpose at one point, but we're now come into this point of where we have the technology to be able to do new and better things. So the reason I like things like Udacity is, so with a traditional course, you have to go into class, or you have to wait until the next class period to be able to move on to something. So with these nano degrees and these MOOCs and whatnot, I was able to go at my own pace, and so I was able to maintain. So I was obviously still working my day job during the day, and then doing stuff in the evening whenever I wanted. So I could do if I really got enthusiastic, I could do 4 hours in one night, and then but maybe the next night I only do 10 minutes. So that was super nice. And then honestly, just the cost factor. The cost factor of traditional education is just astronomical. So compare when I think about what I spent for my bachelor's and master's, compared to what I spent on the stuff that helped me become a machine learning engineer, it makes people, it would make me want to cry. I'm just glad that I was very fortunate enough that my undergrad was paid for between scholarships of my parents, and then my master's I paid for. I guess I did pay for that one myself, but we paid as we went, so it's not like we had student loans accruing or anything. But yeah, now that I think about it, we probably dumped a lot of money on that master's degree. So yeah. All right, so we are at 8:02 here. I am curious if people are actually watching. 5 concurrent viewers. Hello, 5 concurrent viewers. I hope you're finding this of value, because I am running out of things to say here, and I'm getting a little, what do you call it, embarrassed, because I am clearly not prepared for something like this. Okay, so maybe I can talk about what I might do in the future. So I am currently working on a project. Oh wait, we got another question. What excites you about the future of coding and machine learning? Or do you look forward to seeing, or what do you look forward to seeing in happen / potential in? Okay, so what excites me about the future of coding and machine learning? I don't know if there's anything that's going to come necessarily that's going to be a breakthrough in AI itself. Just the applications of what we already have. The applications of what we already have, we're just not using that well. So I think about we're starting to get to this realm of deep fakes. I don't know how much better deep fakes are going to get, but we're not really using them for anything other than just silly stuff right now. And maybe there's not a way to use that for non-malicious purposes. Or maybe a better example is GPT-3. GPT-3 is this natural language processing model that is supposed to be able to be really super, or seem to have really super smart capabilities. And so even if GPT-3 gets a little bit better, which it probably will, I don't think it'll get breakthroughs better. We're obviously not using it yet, or at least the people that are starting to use it, it's not been great yet. Okay, so as far as projects that, here, let me switch my back to screen share mode. Okay, so I listened to an interesting podcast. It's a comedy podcast, sort of, where there is a guy that on there that likes to give ratings to things like movies and whatnot. And so I thought it would be fun as a personal project to create a predictive model that predicts the scores that he gives to these movies. So he has, let me see if I can zoom in here at all. Is there a zoom? pinch to zoom. I'm using a magic mouse. I'm not used to this guy. So anyway, like I am trying. So he gives two different scores. He gives basically like a thumbs up or a thumbs down, a yes or no, and then like a not binary score, a float score between 1 and 10 of like if something's good or not. So I am going to create like, or at least, so what I'm doing right now is I'm going back through the whole back catalog of their podcast and listening to get all these scores. And so right now, like I think it says I got 266 rows, but a lot of these aren't movies. He likes to rate random things like, so you can see he's rated here Gouda cheese. So I will not be trying to do that, but I will be trying to get like something that can build something for all models. So I haven't really gone that far, but the next step is going to be like trying to figure out how I can get information about the movie so I can start doing some feature engineering and stuff. So I was looking at a couple different like screen scraping APIs and stuff and things for like how I could find information about movies in a like consistent fashion. Part of the problem is obviously, so I'm putting everything in like this Google Sheets right now, and so I'm doing my best to make sure that like all these things are spelled right, but I don't know exactly if all these movies are spelled right. So I'm obviously passing plain text into an API and just hoping for the best, and hoping that it returns the right results for me, and I think it will. But so that's challenge 1, but challenge 2 is also just getting like consistent information across the movie sources. So I was thinking, obviously I want to compare his score to like Rotten Tomatoes scores or the IMDb score, and obviously there's not like one movie's API that would give you all that information, which would be amazing. So I was trying to figure out like what is the best way I can do it across a couple different sources. Apparently, because I was looking if there was like a universal movie ID, because that would be really nice. That would make my life a lot easier. So I was just trying out some of these things here within this Jupyter Notebook, just trying to see if I can get data consistently. So obviously I would do something like the Tomato Meter score or IMDb. They have their own 1 through 10 rating, comparing those. But honestly, I'm a little bit stuck on what else I should get as far as feature goes. I think it makes sense to do length of movie, just because length of movie, this particular person brings that up all the time, and it being an influencing factor, because sometimes movies can run a little long in the tooth. You know, they get over 2 hours, it gets a little bit too long. And so... I mean, that was a no-brainer, but you know there are other subjective ones. You have to keep in mind that these features you have to they have to be like relatively consistent across all these things. So for example, like I can't say, well, like I'm looking at Harrison Ford right here. I can't say look for a feature that like has a feature that says movies that star Harrison Ford. That would just be not good. So I have more research to do on that yet. Yeah. All right. All right. So another question in the chat. This is a growing field. Would you agree? Yes. How would you encourage someone to get started or pursue this type of career? Good question. So I would say. First, start off small. The one thing that people want to do is, when you hear about machine learning or whatever, you want to be able to jump in the deep end, and that's natural with anything. It's not just machine learning, but everything that you want to do in life. So I would say start small. Start to see if is Python coding something that is interesting to me, or coding in R or coding in SQL something that's interesting to me, because there's lots of free courses out there that you could look at that help to teach those things. So I even wrote a blog post a couple weeks ago. Now that the commenter has asked the question, let me see if I can find that. And I think it was called 4 skills to get you started in data science. So this might be a good resource for you all. Yeah, I thought I wrote something. Did I not? Or did I scroll past it? Okay, well, apparently I did not, and I swore I did. Or maybe I just didn't scroll far enough. Because I swore I wrote this other post later. Oh, okay. How about that? Clicking the load more button. So yeah, so these are like 4 skills that I would encourage people to get like started off on. So I mentioned, thinking about Python, SQL, and then there are links to courses in here. So like for example, the Udacity, the free SQL course that they have for data analysis is probably one of the best courses I've ever taken, paid or free. Like so that's super nice. And then I mentioned things like Git and whatnot. So yeah, I would encourage. Starting small, start free, like I'm trying to do here with this streaming thing, is I didn't spend any money on this. And I'm finding that I'm not very good at this. So maybe this is the first and the last one of these, but we'll see. I try to do things that I think would be fun, so I thought this would be fun. I don't know. I'm just super nervous right now. So I don't know if this is actually as fun as I thought it would be. But maybe it's just because it feels like I'm talking to empty space and I don't think anybody's actually listening. But apparently 2 of you are still. I'm trying to see here. I'm looking at the stats here. Oh, 3 concurrent viewers. So I lost some, but more than 0. Okay. All right. So I'm looking around here to see if there's anything else I want to cover tonight. We've been going for about 45 minutes, which was what my goal was. I was hoping to hit about 45 minutes, so if we don't have anything else, I hope you enjoyed this first stream. So I will keep this up in its unedited form, just because I don't know how to do YouTube edits. I don't know if I'm going to I don't know if I'm going to keep doing this moving forward. I don't know if it'll stay here on YouTube or if I'll move it over to a different platform. The reason, in case you're wondering why I didn't choose LinkedIn Live, it's not that I didn't choose it, it's just that you have to get approved for it. I didn't realize that, and so I submitted the approval yesterday, and I just haven't gotten approved yet, so I might try that instead. So I hope you enjoyed this. Last questions for fun. What is a video game you like and favorite pizza topping? Favorite pizza topping? Probably pepperoni. Big fan of mushrooms, although I'm a little bit burnt out on mushrooms right now just because I went to Chicago 2 weeks ago and I really love all right, Maggie, come on. I had a really good I had a pizza from Lou Malnati's and it had just too many mushrooms, just a crazy amount of mushrooms. Video game you like? I really like side-scrolling platformers. I really like Metroidvanias. So, for example, I'm playing or replaying right now Ori and the Will of the Wisps. I've also been playing a couple of other things. I'm trying to think of what I've been playing. A lot of Nintendo Switch games, indie titles. I also have a PlayStation 5 that I've been playing. I like to play those games when I can. But yeah. I'm just looking to see if anybody else is going to post any questions or if my wife is going to troll me some more. All right. I am calling it. All right, so if you watched any of this or part of this, thank you. I appreciate it. But yeah, I'm going to end it here. Let me know what you think. Please don't be too harsh. Thank you for your time, good information. Hope to see you on here. I'll see you in 5 minutes. That is my wife that keeps... Yeah. Alright, I'm going to come upstairs and see you, okay? Alright, see y'all later. Have a good evening. Goodbye.